Hi, David here. Just wanted to take a few minutes to connect with everybody on video. I just spent the last couple days in Joshua Tree, California, and if you've been there, you probably know kind of how much magic there is there. And it's I've always really enjoyed going to the desert whenever it is I need to get clear. But Joshua Tree has something particularly special about that desert area. So I went and fasted for a couple days and did a lot of meditation and drumming and hiking, and really just went there for clarity. So getting back now, one of the things that really showed up in a big way for me was about starting to connect more deeply with the people I'm working with. You know, when we put out videos, it's so easy to try to make them perfect and to try to come across with a clear message and to have it be very almost canned, I guess. You know, a lot less spontaneous, a lot less showing who you are. So one of my intentions now is to really show up a lot more, to not just get the message out there, but to bring myself with it, and recognizing how important that is. So. With that in mind, some of you that were part of Soul Path Living that connected with us through our center in Evergreen, you may recognize us. I'm not actually standing in a rainforest in South America, although I often like to pretend that. This was in our yoga studio, and I thought it'd make a great backdrop for videos. So I'm actually in Encinitas, California now, and despite the way it may look. All right, so the first message that I wanted to talk about is something that's been showing up a lot, and it's about the idea of suffering. So, you know, we're all good at suffering in our own way. We're all good at finding the challenges that, you know, that we just feel stuck in. So there's a couple different ways people are suffering right now that seem to be themes. And one of, you know, there's kind of two strands, you might say, of it. One is the things that we can't change. So there's so many people going through these big life changes. You know, this past week, the number of people that have passed from cancer, whether they're, you know, friends or, you know, with David Bowie passing, and I saw Celine Dion's husband pass from cancer, just several different people that are kind of big mainstream folks that really affect everybody. And I know David Bowie is just that eccentric, free spirit that so many of us have connected with. So when we see people like that leaving, you know, there's all that internal suffering, and there's all these people that are also in a place of illness or things that aren't necessarily going to change. And so there's that suffering in that loss. The other type of suffering is the frustration in where we are currently and where we think we're supposed to be. So many of us are trying to create something in our lives, or feeling like we're you know, here for this mission, for this purpose, and it's been elusive. And as we've been working towards it, it's really easy to get frustrated at times, and there's that suffering that shows up when we reach that frustration point. So the one thing these both have in common is what frustration actually is. And it's been shown to me again and again in sessions. It just seems like it keeps coming up. So that's one of the reasons I'm sharing this, is that suffering really is that space that we occupy between what we're experiencing in our life and what we wish we were experiencing or think we should be experiencing. So when you think about why we're suffering, it is completely because our reality is not the reality that we think it should be. So whether it's something that we can't change, and we're suffering through the acceptance of that, which I'll talk about in just a minute, or whether it's something that we've been working towards that's been elusive to us, and we're just exhausted in it, or we're not quite getting there, and the frustration shows up. So there's a suffering in that, you know, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in work, whether it's in really any aspect of our life where we're trying to create something or we're experiencing something that isn't what we want to be experiencing. Instantly appears suffering. So how do we deal with that? So the first one is the things we can't change, right? So, if somebody has terminal illness, if somebody maybe has been through something like they were in an accident, they were paralyzed, that, if there's been a job loss, there's situations that have happened, they've occurred, or they are occurring, and we don't have a way to take power. We don't have a way to take control over them. So we wish they weren't happening, yet we are experiencing that. So that's where the state of suffering shows up. And the energy that's really most beneficial for us there is when we can step into a place of acceptance. And acceptance isn't something like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I can see I can't change that, so I'll just accept it and I'll stop suffering. It's a process. And with any of our suffering, it's really important that we identify and we get very clear with ourselves that we have every right to suffer. There's no part of us that doesn't have a right to suffer, and I want to make sure that I'm really clear about that. I'm not telling you, oh, you know what, you're suffering and you don't have a right to do that. Straighten up, accept it, step forward, because it's a very important step in the process. And when we suffer for a little bit, we get tired of suffering. And that when we reach that kind of breaking point where our fear of acceptance, our resistance to acceptance, kind of butts heads with that place where we've been resisting the acceptance and where we've been staying in our suffering, that's where the change takes place. So if we just wait for that place and we keep resisting, we put ourselves through so much suffering, so much pain. And so the idea of this is to step towards the acceptance, to walk towards it, and not to make an instant step from here to there, but to start to walk towards it, because there's an empowerment in that, in realizing where you're headed, that you will accept it at a certain point, and the process is about stepping towards it rather than waiting for it to come to you. You can see it in the distance coming, and it just makes it more and more painful as it gets closer and closer, and it feels more and more disempowering because it's coming at you. And so what I get on this, the channels I get around it, is about walking towards it and to step into it. And we all need to take our own pace with that. So honoring that we need to take our time in that suffering, and when we are ready, when the pain of the suffering subsides enough that we can see our role in it and see where we can take some power, we can start to step forward. So that's something I've helped a lot of clients with, and it really is amazing the power of acceptance. Because when we've accepted something, all the energy that's gone into resistance, all the anxiety, all the frustration, all of the feeling sorry for ourselves, that are all very necessary as part of that path, once we break our way through that and come into acceptance, just the amount of opportunities that show up, the amount of open-endedness of where we can take things, and the empowerment is just awesome. So that's one type of suffering, is the acceptance, working towards that acceptance. The other is the suffering that we're in when we are trying to create something, or we're trying to have an experience that is not showing up the way we want it to. And the wisdom in this that keeps showing up is really about recognizing that there's always this plan the universe has for you, or God has for you, or however you want to look at it. And as we walk towards that, it doesn't always show up the way we want it to. So I posted this on Facebook the other day. Somebody put out this picture of somebody standing like on a starting line and like a finish flag in the straight line, and it was like our plan. And then the picture below it was God's plan. And there's this person getting ready to start out, and there's like this hill that goes down into like this moat and like, whatever resistance, and up over another mountain and through fire or something like that. And the idea is that we're taken through these for our healing path. That's why we're here as humans, is to heal. So a lot of, and it is a form of accepting as well, is when we realize that the resistance in our life is showing up to take us on the path that we're here to be on, that everything is perfect in each moment, and that it's this circuitous path that goes in a spiral, and as it rises each time, we get closer and closer to what we're trying to achieve. I've heard so many people talk about overnight success, with this caveat, that this kind of running joke, that says, yeah, I was completely, nobody knew who I was. And then overnight, bam, I had all of a sudden there was this following. People were really excited about what I was saying. And I just had this overnight success. And so the running joke with that is that overnight success was preceded with 7 years of working at it and working at it and working at it, and knocking on the door and knocking on the door, and the door not opening, and going through those loops and loops and loops until one day the door opens, and we get to walk through it. So the more we can accept, so again, acceptance is a big part of this, where we are on our path and recognizing the perfection in it. The piece that I always come back to is connecting with God's source, connecting with my guides, however you want to connect with the universe, and just saying, how can I best serve? How is it that I can bring my gifts to this world? And I used to feel like, and when I say used to, maybe yesterday, it used to come up a lot, but it's funny when you make this transition, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I used to do that. And so one of the transitions I think I had while I was just on this little vision quest of sorts in the desert was really identifying that yes, God knows, yes, the universe knows that I do want to be well compensated for my work. I do want to make a good living. I do want to live comfortably. I do want all those things that serve me. I want to feel fulfilled in my work. I want to feel appreciated. And it was almost like before, when I put it out to the universe, I had to add those things. And the universe knows, we don't need to kind of qualify it. So when we are living our life purpose, when we are bringing what we're here to bring to the world, those things happen. We do get compensated. We do get well taken care of. So as I kind of started to take that, create that separation about what success looked like for me, and realizing that just comes with it, that's part of the package deal, and that I could really just focus on how may I serve. And so that was a subtle yet profound shift for me, because the question always was, how can I serve? But then I would say, and I want to be taken care of in this, and I want this is what I need for me, because I'm just ready for that. I'm ready for that kind of support to come back. So it's all part of the process. And getting back to a little more focused to the point here is about where we're suffering. So for me, that was a place of suffering, continuing to knock on the door. And something shifted for me over the weekend, something where I just realized I can just let go of what that needs to look like in a way that in a stronger, more powerful way than I ever have before. So I'm really excited to see what that brings into my life. And I'm really excited too to help guide people along that same path. So I know, like myself, we all have our forms of suffering, the things that we're trying to create, the things that we aren't ready to accept, that we're working through. And it's a place that it seems like there's a theme quite often for the people that show up for assistance that I offer. And this seems to be a theme, is how do I find my power in that suffering, beyond that suffering, finding a way to interact with it, a way to interface with it that feels empowering to me, that feels powerful and allows me to move forward. And that's something that I really hope I can help you with, and I know I can help you with it. So I appreciate you staying and listening through this whole little video, and I hope to hear from you soon. I'll go ahead and put down a few specials I'm running right now, 4 sessions, and I'm doing some really neat work with some stuff around our individual frequencies and what that creates in our lives, and how to create change in our life with our frequency. So look for those coming out as well, and thanks so much, and blessings to you, and I look forward to connecting soon. Thanks so much.